All right, 3:23 in the afternoon. Welcome back to the program. Just had a kind of an exciting conversation there with Phil Munger, who helps operate a liberal blog. What blog? Help me define the difference. You know, Rishi, you're a big liberal. What's the difference between? I mean, Dennis Zawacki and Zaki.
Dennis Zaki operates AlaskaReport.com, which is more of a news site, which really is
with
a
liberal slant. Anyways, you don't have to comment on that. That's my word.
Phil's blog, it's a political blog. It's called ProgressiveAlaska.blogspot.com.
Right, ProgressiveAlaska.blogspot.com. See there, I just gave him a plug. Appreciate that. Tom Van Flein, legal counsel to Governor Sarah Palin. Counselor, welcome back.
Thank you.
Hey, what is it's my point that what Phil's trying to do is he's trying to say somehow that, okay, out of the $500,000 that the governor's allegedly spent, he wants people to know that a large part of it was on the Wooten issue as versus the ethics complaints that had been, the 14 or whatever ethics complaints have been filed against her and have been thrown out.
It's a little bit more than that, though. I think what his implication was, well, didn't she really cause this herself?
Right.
This on herself?
Right.
And that's where he's simply wrong. This started in July, if not a little bit earlier, through some of the union and Mr. Monaghan, and they concocted this whole idea of claiming he was wrongfully terminated, and then they got state money for a state investigation, which clearly started to descend into a political investigation and had nothing to do with the law, since it was very clear under the law the governor could terminate or reassign Mr. Monaghan. So what the governor did, and Mr. Munger has not appreciated still to this day, is she did what is called a self-disclosure. That is not filing an ethics complaint against oneself. That is required under the law, if you're acting ethically, that if somebody has raised questions about your behavior, that someone is supposed to bring it to the personnel board. Since Mr. Monaghan was publicly, as well as others, were publicly questioning her ethics with respect to Mr. Monaghan, she self-disclosed that to the personnel board, which is lawfully vested with the jurisdiction to investigate that type of an allegation without any political or partisan bent to it. That is the truth. She did not bring it on herself. Those were public allegations that Mr. Monaghan and his supporters and many of the Democrats were pushing at that time.
And obviously the governor felt that going to the personnel board was a proper way, a legal avenue for her to defend herself against a politically motivated legislative board. What was that called? The council, legislative council?
Legislative council, correct.
Right.
The personnel board has rules that they have to follow, rules of evidence, rules of procedure. There are guidelines, there are laws. The legislative council made it up as they went along.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that. So the whole allegation is that somehow she wasn't defending herself. This was her pursuit, and therefore
and that's where he's wrong. It's just it's a rewrite of history to say, well, she wanted to bring on all this cost on herself. None of that is true.
When in fact the Wooten issue was not brought up by her. It was brought up by the labor unions and Andrew Halcrow. Let's go to line 1 and talk to Vern. Vern, you're on with Thomas Van Flein.
Yeah, I just been kind of sitting back and watching this whole mess, and I'm saying to myself, well, should we really be complaining about these people that are filing these ethics things? And in the back of my mind it says no, because as these things get dismissed, pushed out, laughed at, and everything else, all they're doing is creating a history of just the kind of people that are going to be trying to run against her come the future.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Vern. There's a lot of truth to that. The something else to that, I don't know what legal counsel have to say about it, was that there's a political motivation here, is that they just want to throw enough dirt against the wall where some of it will stick, and they can just print a story someday in the future maybe that says, look at all these ethics complaints that were filed. They'll never report that they were false. It's just something to go negative with. Wouldn't you agree with that, Counselor?
Correct. It's a part of a long-term strategy, I think, to undermine her credibility, and the only reason that strategy makes any kind of logic or any kind of sense is people think she's a very credible threat for some future office.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, anything, we just got maybe a minute left here, but anything on the misrepresentation of Dennis Zaki getting the audio and the video from the speech that she made the other night and then selling it to CNN?
I don't have enough information on that to really say one way or the other. If he's done something wrong as a journalist or ethically, I'm sure he'll come clean. But I don't have enough information on that to say one way or the other.
Okay.
I do want to say, that with respect to Mr. Dunn here, I'll close on that I think he owes the governor an apology, a written apology. His statements were false. They were defamatory. They're completely without a factual basis. Even the author, the one person in the world who should be most concerned if there really was a, quote, lifting or plagiarism, is Newt Gingrich. And he called it silly and unfounded.
Exactly. Well, we appreciate it, as always. Legal counsel to the governor, private legal counsel, Thomas Van Flein. As always, thank you so much for chiming in today.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah, thank